Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. That's right, I'm doing this one in my kitchen. Why? Because it just seemed like the only place where I could lay everything out for my PlayStation 3 collection, because we're doing a PlayStation 3 collection video today. So I cleared out the island here and I laid out all my games. I got my arcade sticks out here, I got my PS3 fatty over there, and I thought, you know, let's talk about all the games that I've got for this thing. Let's talk about how much I love the system, and you know, maybe you'll see some games that you realize you haven't picked up yet and you'll want to go track them down. But in general, I think now is a really good time to be looking at PlayStation 3 stuff, and it's February 2020 right now. If you're watching this and it's far off in the future or something, but you know, as of right now, we don't know what's going on with PlayStation 5 yet, but the rumor is that it's going to be playing, or backward compatible rather, with all generations of PlayStation stuff, right? So that includes PS3, and I'm thinking, you know, now is the time to track down PS3 stuff if that's the case, because it's dirt cheap, especially at GameStop. And I don't know what the future holds for GameStop beyond, you know, right now. I know I've got stores open. I know that PS3 stuff is like $5 or $10 in a lot of cases. So in anticipation of the PlayStation 5 maybe being backward compatible with that stuff, it's a really great time to track a lot of these games down and add them to your collection for very little money, because I think if PS5 is backward compatible, you will see you know, an increase on some of these titles price-wise in the used market out there for sure. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get into it, and let's take a look at the spread here. Alright, so first game up is 3D Dot Game Heroes. I love this game. This is a really cool Legend of Zelda type game, and as you can see on the back of the box here, very cute art, very unique. I haven't seen another game really quite like it since it's come out, so this is one that I think a lot of people may have slept on, but shouldn't have. It's very good. Next up, Alice Madness Returns. I am a big fan of this game. It is beautiful. I'll just flip over to show you the back of the box here. One thing I really liked about this game, and I've been meaning to do a video on the channel for a while now, is Alice gets different outfits for all of the cool different worlds that she visits. And it's got, like, there's some adventure game elements here, but it's almost like not unlike a survival horror game at times, with just the way that the atmosphere feels. It's very cool. It's very fantasy, but dark and scary at times. It's cool. Definitely one that I think people should check out. Next up, Alpha Protocol. This is a really cool, unique game. I actually haven't finished this one. I've been meaning to restart it for some time. But what I liked about this game was the writing, and the characters were pretty memorable, and it's been just long enough now for me where I've been thinking real hard, like, oh man, I need to get back into that one so I can finish it and see how things turn out. So hopefully maybe, you know, get a video of that one on the channel sometime soon as well. All right, next one, near and dear to my heart, Army of Two. I get a lot of crap from my friends for liking this series so much. But honestly, I've just always kind of enjoyed this type of game, the third-person shooter. I like the kind of buddy atmosphere that it's got going on here. They like high-five and do stupid air guitar stuff like that when you prompt a button, you know, after you win a firefight or something like that. It's just, there's a lot of, you know, high action, but then goofing around too. And I've always liked the balance that series has struck with that stuff. And so the next game should be no surprise. I've got Army of Two, the 40th Day as well. And this was another great game in that series. I really liked it. It did everything that the first one did, but kind of better in my opinion. I was really happy with how this one turned out. Not so happy with the one that came after that, though, the Devil's Cartel. That one's missing from my collection. I didn't really care for where they took the story in that one. So for me, those are the two Army of Two games, rather. All right, next up, Bayonetta. I love Bayonetta, and if you've been watching my channel, you might already know that. So yeah, it shouldn't come as a surprise that I own this. The thing about this version of Bayonetta, though, I know this is like considered the worst way to play Bayonetta, or at least I think it got patched, if I'm not mistaken. It might have fixed some of the issues that this game had when it came out on PlayStation 3, but it was considered inferior to the Xbox 360 version. And now we're on the verge of getting the HD remake of the game that comes out with Vanquish. It's bundled in, and they've got a nice steelbook case and everything. So you can get that on PlayStation 4. You can play Bayonetta on the Xbox One, and it runs at 60 frames per second, and it looks great there too. So there's better ways to play Bayonetta than on the PS3, but I wanted this in my collection just because I'm a big Bayonetta fan, and I wanted to have the PS3 version because it was my favorite system. So next up, Brutal Legend. I am a huge fan of heavy metal. I have been for a very long time. Absolutely love heavy metal, and I loved the way it was represented in this game. Really dig a lot of the bands that they represent here, the different eras of metal, right? You got your hair metal, you've got your new metal, your goth kind of metal, your black metal. It's all kind of represented in the game. And I know it didn't really turn out the way some people had hoped. They were expecting a kind of God of War style game that the original demo seemed to suggest it might be. And when the game introduced strategy elements, people weren't really into it as much. But I liked what they brought. I'm a big fan of Brutal Legend. I would take an HD remake of it. I would take a sequel in a heartbeat. I love it. Next up, Call of Duty Ghosts. What? Oh, it's the Call of Duty game that everybody loves to hate on, right? This is the worst Call of Duty game. But for me, I liked this one. And I'll tell you why. There were two big things that I liked about it. First off, I really appreciated that I was able to buy this for my PlayStation 3, and then when it came out on PlayStation 4, I could use the same disc there. It cost me $10. You can actually see it on the front cover there. It cost me $10 to get a digital version using this disc on PS4. So now I could play it on either system off of a single disc, and I really dig that. The other thing that I liked about it was Extinction Mode, which is like their version of kind of Horde mode meets Left 4 Dead, but with aliens. And it's the only Call of Duty game that's ever had those aliens in it. I really liked the way they did it. It was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. And so yeah, that's why I've kept it around all this time. All right, so next up for me is a game I haven't played yet and have been meaning to get into. Deadly Premonition. Yeah, I've got this on PS3, and I'm excited to check this one out. I got interested in this when they announced the Switch port as well as the sequel coming to Switch, and so I was like, oh, I know that came out on PS3. I've got PS3 stuff that I collect, so maybe if I can find it on the cheap, I'll pick it up. And sure enough, I did. I think it cost me like $12 or something like that, so it was really cheap to get, and I'm excited to get into it at some point here. I love my survival horror games. I love my weird games. And generally, I find that my taste is kind of similar to Jim Sterling's in a lot of ways, and he was pretty high on that game, so that kind of says something to me. I usually pay attention when he heaps praise on a game. All right, another one, Dead Space. I love Dead Space. Sorry about the glare there, trying to deal with that. This game was so good. I love the back. There's no help coming. It's just so bleak. I think this game is great. I think it's a real shame that EA didn't publish any kind of Dead Space content for us this whole generation of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. We didn't get any Dead Space stuff. They just said, we're done with this. We don't want to make games that people really, really like anymore. We just want to make a bunch of microtransactional bullshit. The EA really lost me as a customer this generation. I fell off hard. But Dead Space and the sequels, which oddly enough, I don't have in my collection. I think they didn't survive when I moved out here to the West Coast some years back. So I need to pick up Dead Space 2 again at least. And I got like maybe halfway through Dead Space 3 at the time when that was out, and I did enjoy it. So I'll be adding both of those to my collection, I'm sure, at some point. But yeah, you can't go wrong with that original. I love it. All right, next up, we got a fighting game. We got Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax. There we go. Almost started to say Fungeki Bunko. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know any of these characters on the back. I don't know the visual novels or mangas or whatever they're from, the animes and stuff. I really don't know them at all. But this game does have Selvaria Bless and Alicia from Valkyria Chronicles in it as unlockable characters, and I love me some Valkyria Chronicles, so I had to pick that up because they were unlockable characters in the game. I had to see what that was about. It's also got Virtua Fighter characters in there too, which I think is really cool. And it's strange because it's got all these anime or manga characters that I don't know anything about, but the backgrounds are all from Sega games. So you got your Sonic the Hedgehog level, your Valkyria Chronicles level, right? All these different things that it's pulling in. I think there's a Phantasy Star level. And that's kind of cool. So I just like that kind of mashup stuff. And it's a pretty good fighting game, I think. It's flashy, it's fun. All right, next up, Demon Souls, the one that started the whole Souls series. All of it began here. I understand we might be getting a remake of this for PlayStation 5 if rumors hold true. And it's February 2020 right now, early February 2020 as I'm recording this. So if that's old news by the time you're watching this, or maybe you've played the Demon Souls remake, well, just know that at this point in time, it wasn't a thing yet. So, but I love Demon Souls. I will be there day one if they put out a new version of it. And I have been meaning to go back and replay this. I argue with my friends on the regular about what is the best Souls game. It seems like we all come from different places on it. And a couple of them, I think, make the argument that Demon Souls has not held up very well. And it's been so long that I feel like maybe I got to take their word for it, but I want to find out for myself and replay it. All right, so Doom 3. Shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody if you saw Dr. Puppenstein's Halloween Spectacular, or whatever that was. Dr. Puppenstein, this was at the top of his list of recommendations for Halloween games. And it's great. I love this game a lot. It also comes with Doom 1 and 2 on there, so if you want to play those, they are very good versions on there. All right, moving along, we've got Dragon Age Origins. This is the expansion pack, actually. This is Awakening. And I still need to get around to this, embarrassingly. I got this ages ago, and I haven't played through it yet. And it's weird because I'm a big Dragon Age fan, and I try not to have a lot of stuff, at least on PS3. I'm guilty of owning crap on PS4 that I haven't played yet, and it's like I've got a growing backlog there. And I'm really going to try and make an effort to get away from that kind of behavior in the future. But it's weird that I've had Dragon Age Awakening as long as I have and haven't played it yet. So, and speaking of Dragon Age, if I just off camera here shimmy over and grab this isn't going to go on the pile here, but I've got Dragon Age Origins. This was the collector's edition box, and I always really liked this collector's edition. It's got the sleeve here that you can see on the outside. It's pretty shiny, but you get the sleeve off, and real nice metal steelbook. Really love that shot of Morrigan on there. And then, if I remember right, yeah, here we've got like a cloth map that you can unfold, and then it's got an instruction book. Imagine that. So, yeah, there's that. Dragon Age Origins. I like how the slipcover just kind of fits over, and the blood stains are on the sword, and it all kind of lines up. I can appreciate that. All right, so next up here, another role-playing game. We've got Fallout New Vegas. And this is another one that's got like a nice little cardboard sleeve to it. But we'll pull that off and let you look at the back here. I like Fallout New Vegas. I think a lot of people really have come to appreciate this game more and more over the years. It's just got good writing. And here's me failing to get the slipcover back on. There we go. It's got really good writing. It's just a lot of fun. And I really like the villains in this game. I liked the two sides that were opposing. The kind of weird fake Roman Empire and the military faction that were both kind of going head to head. I liked being in the middle of that. Thought it was very good. All right, so now the next three games here are all ones that I'm a big fan of. They're all from the same series. We've got Fear, we've got Fear 2, and Fear 3. Yes, all three Fear games in my collection, as it should be. And if I had to pick a favorite, it's Fear 2. I love Fear 2. And let me clear these away really quick here just so I can free up a little more space between the camera and the game. Pull the slip cover off and let you have a quick look at the back here. I just like Alma Wade as a villain. I think she's scary. I think it's cool that she ages as the series goes on, and she starts as a young girl, and then by the end of the third game, she's full-grown adult. I like that. I think it's really cool. Oh, I forgot that I had this in here. This Valentine's Day card. There we go. Sorry about the glare. The Valentine's Day card that I got when I picked up the game. It's so weird because you get this in stores now advertisement that they literally gave to me when I got the game. So, but anyway, yeah, Fear 2. I love how scary these games are. I love. It's funny that I left this off of Dr. Puppenstein's list. I think because I was focused on games you could play easily at any time. So I'll try to get that in there. There we go. But anyway, yeah. Big fan of those games, and that is pretty much the first part of the games. We're going to take a break from games, and we're going to move on to some accessories for a little bit here and focus on that stuff, and then we'll pick this back up again and we'll get into more games. All right, so one of my favorite accessories that I want to talk about for the PlayStation 3 is my Mad Catz Tournament Edition arcade stick. Now this one's cool because it came with Tekken Hybrid, so it's got like the Namco logo on here, and as you can see, it's glossy as all get out, so it shows fingerprints like crazy, which kind of drives me nuts sometimes. But this came with Tekken Hybrid. You can see I've got number 409 of 1,000 here, and it's just a really great quality stick. They're really easy to work on if you want to put different buttons in one of these things or change out your stick or a part for the stick like the gate. All that stuff is pretty simple to work on with one of these. They're very accessible. As well as being high quality. So I can't recommend these sticks from Mad Catz enough. And I've got another one of these that you probably saw in some of the overview footage that we'll be getting to as well here. All right, so we've got a couple of special editions to talk about here real quick. We've got Blaze Blue and Castlevania Lords of Shadow. I'll start with Castlevania Lords of Shadow here. I am missing the plastic slipcase that goes over this little booklet thing here. Not sure what happened to that, honestly, but the important stuff is here. We've got kind of like a built-in art book, if you like that kind of thing. And then it comes with a soundtrack disc and then the game disc here, as well as a little sort of manual there. There's not much in the manual, but if you pull the game disc out, which I'm struggling to do here, maybe I'll just not do that. Maybe I'll just have to do another take. There we go. No, can't get it. Son of a bitch. There we go. All right, we're going to roll with that. That's the take. I don't know why I felt it was so important, but I wanted to show you the cool background behind the disc. So that's that's that. All right, we'll set that aside. We'll move on to Blaze Blue here, Calamity Trigger. And this is a fun little collector's edition because you've got the game here, but then also there's a cool little bonus case here that's got soundtrack discs, and if I'm not mistaken, there's like an actual movie disc in here, an animated thing. So yeah, the limited edition bonus disc here, that's the one that's got the animated movie. So this is nice. I always like packages like this. Let's see, it's on the back of this main box here. It details everything. 2-disc original soundtrack, and then yeah, Blu-ray movie disc with tutorials, expert advice, character-specific strategies, and stuff like that. So that's cool. I like that kind of content. All right, so we got another fresh set of games here, and I'm going to kick it off with Hunted: The Demon's Forge. Published by Bethesda. I don't think this one had a ton of fans back in the day. This was definitely a cult classic, but I really enjoyed my time with it. I like the two characters in it. They have a really fun kind of camaraderie between them, and you know, it's got some good combat in there. You've got melee combat, you've got ranged combat with bows, and there's just a good amount of you know, time that you can spend playing this one. The campaign is fairly lengthy. I really enjoyed Hunted: The Demon's Forge. I think if you find it out in the wild and somebody's got it for sale, it'll likely be pretty cheap, and I don't think you'll be too disappointed with it. Next up, Lollipop Chainsaw. I really like this game too. This one's a little controversial, I suppose, just because I think people often complain about the way that the game controls and handles a little bit. But for me, honestly, the charm and the music, oh my gosh, the music and just the style, it's so great. It overcomes the game's shortcomings for me. So I really like and recommend Lollipop Chainsaw. I would love to see another one of these get made. Or at the very least, I would be down for an HD remake with that, honestly. I think I could get in on that. All right, next up, Lost Dimension. This is a really fun strategy RPG. It's got a really cool system that they do here where it sort of almost doesn't make sense sometimes, but I like the attempt here. I like what they try to do. They make it so that you start with a whole party of characters, and then like at the end of every chapter, you basically decide that there is somebody who might be a traitor in your group, right? They might be working against everybody else. And so you want to decide who that is, and then they're basically going to die. You have to decide who gets sacrificed. And you're going to find out whether you made the right decision or not, and then you got to kind of live with that. But yeah, it's interesting. I appreciate what they tried. I think it's got good style. There's some good music. I like it. The writing's fun. Yeah, I think it's a good time. I recommend it. You can also get that on the Vita as well. Next up is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. I really, really like this game, and mostly because it covers the Civil War story arc from the comic books, which I always thought was a pretty interesting place to take the story. The idea of these heroes kind of disagreeing literally over government policies that were going to affect people's lives, and then, you know, it gets to the point where it's, you know, they're literally fighting, and it's violent, and bad things happen that people are ashamed of and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. So yeah, when I learned Ultimate Alliance 2 was about that, I jumped on and picked that up way long ago, and always enjoyed it. So that's the one for me. I didn't feel the need to have Ultimate Alliance 1 in my collection. I may pick up 3 on the Switch someday, but for now, 2 is great just because it's got the heroes of my era. They look the way that I remember them looking. So, all right, next up, Mass Effect Trilogy. Can't go wrong with this package here. I'm such a huge fan of Mass Effect. I really love this series. I love the characters. I love the music. I love the locations. All of it is just so super memorable. And again, shame on EA for letting this series get to a point where people just fell out of love with it really hard. I know there's different reasons for different people on why that happened, but this was such an amazing saga, and I'm just going to open up this package and kind of show it off a little bit here. Really appreciate this packaging. I think it's very cool. You got all 3 discs in here, which this is interesting because if I'm not mistaken, this is the only way you can get Mass Effect 1 on a disc for the PlayStation 3. These 2 also just came out as single releases, so if you want the first game on a disc, I'm pretty sure you have to get this. And it's got a fun little Velcro patch here in the N7 patch. And then I think it's just like some online pass stuff over there. So yeah, really liked this package. Very happy with it. Big fan of Mass Effect. And I can't get this back in there right now. We'll just set that over there for now. We'll come back to that later. All right, moving along. Metal Gear Solid, the Legacy Collection here. I like this. Not all of it is on the disc, which is a little disappointing. I think there's a couple of them. I forget which ones they are. They're like the really older games, I think, are digital downloads instead of on the disc. And it might even note on the back which ones that affects here. I can't remember. So yeah, you've got your disc 1 and 2, and then, oh yeah, I've got this old Foxhound patch. That didn't come with the game. That's just something that I've had for a long time. I think it came off of a backpack I used to own. So yeah, big fan of these games. Really like that it's all kind of there in one package. Keeping things going. Back to EA, we've got Mirror's Edge. And, you know, EA really did some cool, interesting games this past gen. You know, the PS3 gen, I guess. Games like Mirror's Edge. Mirror's Edge was so unique and cool at the time. This idea of like free running on rooftops and stuff. And, at a time when a lot of games were reliant on like gun combat and stuff, this had very, very little gun usage in it. And it was very cool, very memorable. I really liked the main character, Faith. Yeah, I just really adored this original Mirror's Edge game. All right, so next up is a racing series that I am a big fan of. That's right, we've got MotorStorm, Apocalypse, and Pacific Rift. Now, Apocalypse is cool because that game has 3D, and I have a 3D PlayStation television, so I do from time to time put the glasses on and play that. But Pacific Rift here, man, this is one of the best racing games I have ever played. I love Pacific Rift. It's just so damn good. I love the tracks are just brilliantly designed. It's so colorful. You've got your beautiful locations with like beaches and blue skies and like lush greenery and stuff that you're just slamming through at 100 miles an hour. And then you've got crazy stages where there's like, you know, an active volcano going off or something like that, right? And there's lava around, and sections where you're using so much boost, you got to cool your car down by driving through water, right? Or if you're using boost and you drive through lava, you might blow up because your car overheats too quickly. Just very cool stuff, and one of the most killer licensed soundtracks I've ever heard. So again, Pacific Rift, that's the one, baby. You got to get that game. If you're going to look into a MotorStorm game, get that one. You'll notice the original's missing from my collection. You know, I had it at one point. I think it's at my dad's house, and it's probably going to stay there just because I just don't have any desire to go back and play the original, really. Anytime I'm going to play one of these, I'm either going to play Pacific Rift or I'm going to play Apocalypse because I'm messing around with my 3D stuff, and I think that's fun. So, but yeah, Pacific Rift. All right, so back to fighting games for our next round here. That's right, we've got Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. So I'm a huge fan of Persona 4. I love the game. I didn't play it when it was new. I played it on the Vita. I played Persona 4 Golden some years back and really fell in love with it. And that's what prompted me to find these. And these are a good time. I love fighting games, so that was already a positive, you know, in the checkmark columns or whatever for me was just okay, fighting games with some of my favorite characters in it. Awesome. I'm there, right? But it's also got the locations and the music and stuff from Persona 4, so there's a lot for a fan of Persona 4 to appreciate there. And if you're into fighting games, I think you could dig it too. I will say the story is just kind of, I mean, it is what it is. It's fine. It's not interesting to me the same way the story was for Persona 4. It's just kind of like, hey, we needed to think of something for a reason for these characters to be fighting. So, but anyway, yeah, you kind of play a game like that for the sights and the sounds and stuff. So, all right, moving along. Another fighting game here. We've got PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and I forgot to flip this one over. So this is fun because it's just got a bunch of characters that you know and love coming together, much like a Smash Brothers game. And I know people love to shit on this game because it's not Smash Brothers, but I think it's fun. I think it's quite fun and charming. There's a lot to enjoy there. I know the scoring system in this game is different from Smash Brothers. You don't knock people out of the arena. You have to like land a kill move, basically, and that kind of earns you your points that way. And it can be hard, you can miss, and you know, some of them are better than others. It's not necessarily the most balanced, but a lot of love and care was put into that game. And it's got Cat from Gravity Rush in it, and I love that. And the final boss is Polygon Man from the original PlayStation marketing campaign. So I think it's fun. I think it's very charming, and I think it's very underrated. All right, next up, keeping this train moving here, we've got Pure. Pure is such a fantastic racing game. I loved Pure. It's one of my favorite racing games ever. And we'll flip it over here, let you see the back, and get that a little closer too, honestly. Another game with a great licensed soundtrack, another game with beautiful tracks, really nice, you know, blue skies and dirt paths and stuff that you're just tearing down, you know, flying down mountains and stuff, catching massive air. They do the SSX thing where you can kind of pull off tricks while you're in the air. I adore Pure. I think it's just fantastic. I feel like everybody should own a copy. I think if I remember right, At one point, there were Xbox 360 consoles that were getting sold with Pure bundled in, if I remember correctly, and that makes me happy, just knowing that people got a fantastic game like that bundled in with their consoles when they bought it. So, all right, moving along. Another game that I have yet to play, actually. It's Remember Me from Capcom. Published by Capcom, actually, but developed by Don't Nod, who you might know from the Life is Strange series this past gen on PS4 and Xbox One. I picked this up because it had been on my hard drive for a long time. I think this came out as a PlayStation Plus game on PS3, and so I picked it up thinking, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna love this or not, but it was cheap and easy to find, so I was like, yeah, if I'm gonna really like it when I do play it, I'll want to have it, so I bought it. I also love Paris. The city of Paris is beautiful, and I know this is Neo Paris, it's in the future and stuff, but I wanted to see if there were any places I might recognize or anything like that in the game, or, you know, I don't know, probably not, but that's fun to think about, and I like the idea of playing with people's memories and stuff. It's very sci-fi, very cool. So I'm actually not sure what took me so long to get interested in this game. I think I wanted to play it when it came out, but I was just busy doing other stuff at the time. So I don't know, but I have it and I will get to it. All right, moving along. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. I know this game is another one that a lot of people love to hate on. I have some friends, mainly Dave and John, who are big fans of this game. I think just because they spent a lot of time playing it together. The Resident Evil fans, you know, we're all into Resident Evil, and this was, I think, mostly bolstered by having the RE license and the characters and enemies and stuff like that in it. Without that stuff, would I even care about this game? I don't know, probably not. The AI is just as dumb as burnt toast if you're playing solo. So really, I think the main attraction is playing it online and stuff with friends, which I haven't done in a very long time and may never do again, actually, sadly. But I wanted to keep the game around just in case I do get the itch to play it. So as I mentioned, I had another Mad Catz Tournament Edition arcade stick here. And this one is for Soul Calibur V, as you can see, but I really like this one. It's very cool. It's the only one of these Mad Catz sticks where they ever made the casing like this, where you've got like blue on one side, red on the other, kind of, you know, smoky along the bottom here. It's very cool. I really like these. I think I might want to mod this one day and put different artwork on it instead of the Soul Calibur V stuff, because honestly, I'm not even really a huge Soul Calibur V fan. Yeah, this colored casing here is really friendly for that. So I've got all kinds of ideas of like red versus blue stuff, or there's a Symphony X album cover that I think would be fun to put on here that plays with the whole fire versus water thing. So there's that. I also want to show off the box that this comes in, because the box is a lot of fun. The box is really pretty. We'll just set the stick over here for now. But this thing opens up in the middle, and then you've got your space where the stick sits in, in real nicely in there, and you've got your pieces of foam to kind of cradle it. But I really like the character art here. This is upside down. So we've got Mitsurugi on one side. We've got, I forget his name, Patroclus or something like that. And then on the back, we've got Cassandra. And then, of course, on the other side, my favorite, we've got Ivy Valentine looking all cool. So, yeah, this is just a fun box. I like boxes like this. Oh, and on the bottom, Siegfried's on there too. So, yeah, love this box, love the stick. Again, all of this Mad Catz stuff is pretty high quality, and I'm very happy with it. So, highly recommend this stuff if you ever see it laying around for sale. Another special edition that I'd like to talk about here is the one that I got for Katherine. This is the Love Is Over Deluxe edition, and I think it's really cool. I like the packaging. I'm a huge fan of this game, and I do have the Katherine full body release that they put out on PS4. But I kept this around just because I think it's such a fun collector's edition. If you look at the back, it's got everything kind of listed, but we'll crack it open and take a peek here together anyway. So yeah, I mean, just lift the slip off here. And I like that this is a mock pizza box from the Stray Sheep place where you hang out in the game all the time. So very cool, nice little detail. And I'll get it opened up here. And you've got the game, right? This is how it is just normally if you bought it somewhere without the rest of the special edition packaging. So we'll set that aside. But we've got a soundtrack and art book here. And the art book's kind of cool just because it's got some commentary from from people on staff who designed some of this stuff and the composer, right? There's notes about the soundtrack in here. So if you really want to get into the weeds and kind of behind the scenes on this stuff, you can certainly read into that stuff. It's very cool. So, and then you've also just got like, kind of like your art book, typical art book stuff. Sorry about the glare once again there. And then we've got the soundtrack disc on the back page. So there's that. And then now we get to the kind of fun stuff here. We'll set that aside for a moment. You've got polka dot boxer shorts that Vincent wears in the game here. And no, I've never worn them. I just leave them. I leave them in the box. They're not really my style. There's a t-shirt in here. Kind of doing some of this off cam. We'll get to the t-shirt next. I've never worn this either, but I don't, as being, as big of a fan as I am of Katherine, I don't really understand the reference here. I think this is just a t-shirt that Vincent has that Katherine wears at a sleepover in one of the scenes, something like that, if I remember correctly. And then the last thing here is it's not full body pillow size, but it is a pillowcase. But it's not one of the body pillow sized cases that you usually see with this kind of thing. So yeah, I'm trying my best to spread it out here in front of the camera, but yeah, that's never really come out of the package other than just to kind of look at here. Obviously you can see the fold marks on it here. It's been tucked away for some time. I don't know, this stuff is fun. I like having it, but it's one of those weird things. I don't know why I feel compelled to let it take up space in my house. I just do because I'm a fan, but it's like I'm never going to wear the shirt. I'm never going to wear the boxers. I'm sure as hell never putting this pillowcase on any of my pillows. So yeah, I guess I don't know why I want this stuff, but this is just the kind of crap that when you're a collector, you're like convinced that you have to have this shit in your house for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why. So that's that. That's Katherine. All right, and so now to finish with the last of my games here, we're going to start things out with Sega Rally Revo, or Revo. I don't know how people pronounce that, but it's the Sega Rally game that you can get on PlayStation 3. And, honestly, I think I like having this one in my collection a little more than I actually like playing it. So, it's all right. It's a little more slippery with the handling than I think I care for. But when I do want to play a Sega Rally game, that's the one I have, so that's what I'll play. Moving things along here, we've got Soul Calibur 4. Now, I love Soul Calibur. This isn't my favorite Soul Calibur game, though. I think I have this in my collection mostly because the Star Wars characters are in it, and it's just kind of fun. They play well. It's fun to see Darth Vader fighting against Starkiller. I hate Yoda, though. I think Yoda's garbage. He breaks the game, in my opinion. I've never liked him in the movies either, I guess, but this was fun when it came out. I think my friends and I spent quite a bit of time playing it online. And we sure got into the character creator stuff on there. Oh my gosh, the ridiculous creations that we would make. It was out of control. So I've kind of kept this game in my collection out of a love for the series more than a love for this specific installment in it. I think my favorites are definitely the original Soul Calibur, Soul Calibur 2, and the new Soul Calibur 6. All right, Splatterhouse is the next game I want to talk about. I happen to really enjoy Splatterhouse. I think it's fun. It's very heavy metal. It's very like kind of Halloween monster, scary mansion is the first level. Really cool boss designs and stuff. I dig it. I really dig it. And it's got a great soundtrack with stuff that I like from Lamb of God, your Five-Finger Death Punch, that kind of stuff is all in here, and I dig it. I just think it's a good game. It's maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but if you want to check that out, if that sounds like you, then I don't think you'll be disappointed with it. And it's also got the first 3 Splatterhouse games as unlockables in it too, so that's fun. All right, next up is Splinter Cell Trilogy here. And it's worth noting that this is just the campaigns where you play as Sam Fisher. There's no online multiplayer in this. But I don't think you can play the online multiplayer even on the Xbox side of things anyway. I think that stuff is all pretty much inaccessible, if I'm not mistaken, as of right now. So, yeah, I don't know what Ubisoft is going to do in the future. Maybe they'll put out those old games again with the multiplayer intact or something. But for now, this is one of the best ways to play those Splinter Cell campaigns because it's in HD now, which it wasn't originally. So, yeah. All right, so we talked about Pure earlier, and from the same team is Split Second, which is, again, one of the best racing games I've ever played. I adore Split Second. I really think everybody who likes arcade racing games needs to check this out. It's just so cool. The presentation is really slick. They put together this kind of reality TV show approach with it, which I think is very neat. They've got these very cool bumpers in between chapters where it's like, coming up on the next season of Split Second, and then they show some footage of like some of the events that are coming up. It's very cool. It is super slick. I really like that game. I also really like the soundtrack in it. I think it's very cool. It's got the whole dynamic thing going on, but some of the music is so damn good. I've got it on my running playlist, so definitely check that one out if you haven't. And kind of a cousin to that, SSX. I say cousin just because Split Second rather is directly related to Pure, and Pure lifts some inspiration from the SSX series. I like this game. I think it's a lot of fun. It's got a really good vibe to it. There's a really cool licensed soundtrack in this game. You get stuff like Foster the People is on there, if I remember right. I want to say Two Door Cinema Club. I can't remember exactly everybody who's on it, but it's really good stuff, man. I like the vibe that this game has. It's just got a good groove about it. You pop it in, you play, you hear the songs, you enjoy the tracks, and you just kind of walk away feeling good. All right, so back to fighting games. We have Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and this is a fun game. I really like this game just because it brings together these two series that I have a lot of love for, right? Street Fighter and Tekken, and just the mashup kind of thing. I'm a sucker for it. I love seeing, these situations where you've got Heihachi versus Ryu, or King versus Poison, right? All of these cool mashups. It's just fun, and you can mix and match your teams. Take one from each side and put them on the same team together. Really like this kind of stuff. And if you've known me for a while, if you're one of my longtime friends, you might remember we had a tournament for this game at Midwest Gaming Classic several years back. I think it was 2012. It was the year that the game came out. I think it was 2012. And Mad Catz was very good to us. They gave us some arcade sticks to give away as prizes to the winners. Let's see, I think Jason A. Striker, who's now at Giant Bomb, was our second place contestant. He lost to a guy named Nate. I'm sorry, Nate, I don't remember your last name. But it was a lot of fun, man. We had a room full of people watching these, the final bracket of our tournament here, and everybody just hanging out, and I love it. I love that kind of stuff where you've got, passionate fans who are all just hanging out and being good to each other, being cool, being respectful. It was a lot of fun, and a lot of my longtime friends from gaming were there in the room when it was happening too, and so that game is always going to be super special to me for that reason. In addition to just playing well and being a good time. All right, so to continue the Tekken love here, we've got Tekken Hybrid, which is cool. It's called Tekken Hybrid because there's actually a movie in here, a 3D movie, as you can see on the cover, and the HD remake of Tekken Tag Tournament, the original. So, yeah, it's a fun little package, and this is the game that came with the black arcade stick that I showed earlier in the video. Moving along, we've got Tekken Tag Tournament 2, which I love Tekken Tag Tournament 2. This is like the Tekken game in my opinion. This is I know Tekken 7 is the hotness that everybody plays now, and I really love Tekken 7. But man, this game just kind of has it all. I love that it's got pretty much every Tekken character ever, and a great tag mode. I love the music and the stages in that game. I love the box art. I love that it's reversible. I know you can have Heihachi and Kazuya, I think, on one version of it, or maybe it's Jin and Kazuya. But I opted for the Anna-Nina combo just because I like the colors. I think it looks great. So yeah, very happy to own that. Moving along, we've got the Tomb Raider Trilogy. Startled my dog there. The Tomb Raider Trilogy, I love this because it's got Tomb Raider Anniversary in it, which I'm a huge fan of. The other two Tomb Raider games I do appreciate. I like them. But I have got like serious love for that Anniversary game. I just think it's so great. It's the original Tomb Raider game, but modernized, right? It's kind of like a full remake of the original game from, 1995 or 96, whenever that came out. And I really like it. I like having it on PS3, and it originally came out on PS2 even, so it's kind of up-resed from that even. So yeah, I gotta have this one in my collection. I think it's great. You can hear the dog sniffing in the background. I don't know what he's getting into. Next up, I've got a copy of Twisted Metal that's been signed by David Jaffe. If you're looking at all the scribbles and you're like, what the hell is going on there? That is how David Jaffe signed the copy of the game. This came to me from a contest of sorts. I don't remember exactly what I did to get this, but I had the game. I had a non-signed copy already. And I think just after the game came out, they were doing some kind of fun thing with, like, to promote the game. If I remember right, you were controlling cameras on the internet. No joke. You were controlling cameras that were hooked up to guns that were shooting like cars that they had used in the advertising for this game. If I remember that correctly, it was something like that. I definitely remember that we were controlling remote guns out in the desert, and they just had this kind of cool live event that they put on for it at the time. It was very out of the ordinary for the time. Like, must have been like 2013, maybe 2012 when they did this. Maybe it was even before that. Maybe it was like 2010 or 2011. God. Anyway, I ended up with a copy because I did something in that event. I can't remember what. But I then gave away my other copy of the game, and I kept the signed one. I love Twisted Metal. I'm a big fan of the series. I like this version of it. I think it's got a fun campaign. It's not exactly what I wanted in terms of like the traditional campaign where you pick your character and then you play through the end and you get an ending specific to that character. There's only 3 characters in the game that get that treatment here, unfortunately. But what's there is fun. And again, I'm a sucker for a really good licensed soundtrack, and this has it. It's got a really broad range of cool tracks in it. I dig it. The Champ from Ghostface Killah in there. You've got your Sammy Hagar's Heavy Metal Noise in there, right? Like 2 very different songs, but they both work on this soundtrack. It's really cool. All right, moving along. We've got Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. This is a great fighting game, man. I really like this one. I still prefer Marvel vs. Capcom 2 over this one. But boy, this one is a really good time. It's got great music in it, a lot of great characters, really cool, fun stages and stuff. This is really high quality, great production value. And it is pretty much, it's what killed Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite when that came out this past generation. And I say that because this game was so good, people were expecting a game on that level of quality, and Infinite just wasn't. Infinite cannot stack up to our Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So anyway, yeah, I love that game. I now with it being a Disney property and stuff, I don't know, 10 years from now, is that going to be hard to find? I have no idea. I feel like, my gut tells me yes, but yeah, go pick it up if you can. You can't go wrong with it. Continuing with fighting games, we've got Ultra Street Fighter 4. This is the definitive version of the game that's got At least on this console, right? I know this came out on PlayStation 4 as well, if I'm not mistaken. But I already had this version, and I just said, you know what, this is good enough. I don't really need it on PS4 because I feel like it runs great on this console. So, plus my fight sticks work on PS3 as well. So, I guess you could get cute with adapters and stuff like that. But why buy another copy of the game if I don't need to? Sometimes I do. It's so weird, man. Like I double dip on games all the time, but for whatever reason, this is one where I made my stand. I decided no. I'm only buying one copy. And speaking, oh my God, the next game. Speaking of, right, Valkyria Chronicles. I must own like 30 copies of Valkyria Chronicles. Yeah, that's an exaggeration, of course. But I mean, like, I've got it on PS3. I have it on PS4. I have it on Switch, right? I might even own the PC version in my Steam library, if I remember right. I think I might have bought it cheap just because I felt like supporting the game. So yeah, I'm so ridiculous, man. But yeah, I love Valkyria Chronicles. It's really one of my favorite games ever. I just think it's so unique. It's so charming. It's so fun. There's so many great characters in it. It's got a good story. It's one of those games I'll remember forever. It's just super memorable and enjoyable. And I'm so glad that they made more of these. I'm really glad that it got a sequel, which I also have, Valkyria Chronicles 2. The third game only came out overseas in Japan for some reason. It never made its way to the US, at least as of now in 2020. So I didn't play that one. Valkyria Chronicles 4 came out on Switch and PS4, and that is a very solid game. I really liked it. And then I've even got the Revolution game, which not many people seem to enjoy, and I haven't actually played yet. So, all right, Virtua Fighter 5 is the next game up here. And I wanted to have this just because I liked having a physical copy of this game on hand. I think there were updates to this game that came out, like, gosh, what is it? I know I have this on my Xbox One X hard drive, and it's got some kind of addition to the title. It's not just called Virtua Fighter 5. It's called, like, I don't know, Final Round or something like that. But yeah, I wanted to just have a copy that was on disc, and this is what was out there. It's also very cheap, man. I think I got that at GameStop for like $5 or something like that. So that's very easy to find for cheap out there. All right, now Wet, another game that Bethesda published back in I don't know, like 2009, I think. I really like this game. I really like it a lot. I think it's got great personality, great. It's very charming. The main character is a very badass chick. She can do all kinds of like acrobatics and stuff. She uses a sword and guns, and it's got this kind of like grease monkey rockabilly kind of vibe to it. That's very cool. There's a lot of like kind of twangy rock and roll punk, punk music stuff on the soundtrack. It's really cool. It's very unique, and it mashes all that stuff up with kind of like, I don't know, like classic, Eastern mysticism kung fu movie, right? Like it's very crazy, the blend of all of these things that come together to make Wet. Wet's a very special game. I really like it, and I get annoyed when people talk about it being bad because I really thought it was great. And I do remember back when it came out, there were some places like joystick.com that got that game and like they understood it and they gave it great reviews. I want to say Joystick gave it like 4 out of 5. So I knew I wasn't crazy. And now the last game, XCOM Enemy Unknown. Yes, XCOM Enemy Unknown is a really good time. I really like this game a lot. If you like strategy RPGs, look at this game. It's not so much RPG as it is strategy, but it's fun. It's got like really satisfying battles, and I was really surprised. I'm not like a longtime XCOM fan or anything like that because I was always a console kid, and this has very much been a firmly rooted in PC history kind of series. But I really liked this one, and I have XCOM 2 as well on the PS4, which I have been meaning to get around to playing. But this one I played all the way through and really, really enjoyed it. I really thought it was great. So comes highly recommended from me. All right, so that is the PlayStation 3 collection as of right now. I'm sure you probably noticed that I'm missing some games that you might think everybody should have in their PS3 collection. Why does it need to have this game or that game? But keep in mind, collections are fluid and always a work in progress as far as I'm concerned. You can keep looking for those games. You've got your swap meets, your retro gaming conventions and that kind of thing. And for right now, we've got some used game stores in the form of GameStop that you can take advantage of. So I'll keep adding to my collection. You keep adding to yours. Maybe we do this again somewhere down the road, and you can tell me what I'm still missing at that point. So, all right, thank you for hanging out. This has been fun. We're gonna do more of these. I want to do one for PlayStation 4. I want to do one for the Switch and the Vita. I'll probably combine those because I just don't have as many for those two systems as I have here. And my PS4 collection is actually my biggest collection out of everything. So that will definitely get its video at some point this year. But anyway, thanks again for hanging out. We'll catch you next time.